Oh, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to A1R Radio Network and Moonstruck TV. I'm the Urban Monk, and thank you for joining me. You caught me laughing there because I was having a bit of a conversation with Dave prior to coming on air. Tonight, I want to talk about mind identification, and we've touched on it before, the egoic mind and who we think we are and how we let our egoic mind dictate what we do and what we think. Because I'm sort of time limited, I can't really take many calls, but I want to do a bit of an interactive show tonight. So if you're watching, or if you're watching this on catch up, you can still do the same thing, because even for you guys on catch up, when you watch this, it will be now, because we're talking about living in the present and living now to prevent anxiety, fear, and worry. So how many people out there, honestly, have said this to themselves at some point? I'll be okay when, I'll be fine if. We all look to a future event, and I'll be okay when I get to live in America in 5 years' time. I'll be okay when I win the lottery in a weekend's time or a week's time. We're always looking at a time in the future where we think we can achieve something to make our lives fulfilled, if you like. We're kind of fearing death. So what we want to do is try and fit as much in as we can before we die. And we're all going to die, we know that. We want to try and fit in as much as we can. And if we don't manage to fit those things in, we consider that to be some kind of failure. And unfortunately, for humans, we see the now as being an obstacle that we need to get over to achieve that thing in the future, to achieve that thing that we're planning to do. So if we're constantly guided by our egoic mind, we put things in place. If they happen, they happen. If they don't, they don't. So what I want you to do is instead of identifying with those thoughts, identifying with the wants and dreams or the fears from the past, I want you to try and think about being present and living in the moment. So a little test for you, a little example of how it's not who we are when we follow what the mind says, the egoic mind. I want you to visualize a room in your house or in the office where you're sitting now, somewhere different, a bedroom or a kitchen or the canteen or somewhere where you might have your break. Just imagine that room. So for a couple of seconds, try and focus in your mind what that room looks like. See where the chairs are, see where the bed is, see where the cooker is. Imagine that room. And for most of us, that sounds a bit bizarre. But if you think about it, what we're trying to do is we're trying to visualize that room that I'm asking you to think about. The majority of people will see that picture. The majority of people will see that picture in 3D. The majority of people will see that picture in color. And whether your eyes are closed or open, it doesn't matter. But you will imagine and think about that image. Now, the point I'm making there is that if you can visualize or think about that image, then clearly that is not you. It's a picture that's in front of you. Even if it's in your mind, you're projecting it forward, and it's not you. So if thinking about that room is not you, why would you identify with the thoughts that you have about your current life? And I mentioned it some weeks ago that what we don't do is we don't focus on who we are right now. We focus on or are guided by our life circumstance, our life situation. This is happening, so it really sucks. But what can I do about it? Because I'm here. And that moment that I'm dreading or fearing or looking forward to is in a future time. This brings us to the present and the now. So if you're thinking about that room or visualizing that room, be assured that that's an image that you've concocted through a thought. So any other thought that you might have for fear or anxiety or worry, it clearly isn't you as a person, as the human being. Now, it's very important we take note of that. We are human beings, not human doings. Okay? So we are just to be. And if we allow ourselves to take time and acknowledge the present instead of fighting it and trying to get it out of the way, we can then learn how to be more resonant, or we can learn how to be more part of the universal energy, which is what we were talking about before in terms of health and body vibration and our clearest, most conscious thoughts. We tend to look at life on the vertical plane when really we should be looking at it on the horizontal plane. Thinking about energy, thinking about tuning into that, thinking about being where we can be right now and what we can focus on and achieve right now. So whilst we're not catastrophizing about that future event, whilst we're not worrying about that future event, our bodies will naturally vibrate at the universal level. It will vibrate at the energy level. It will vibrate at the health and healing level. It will vibrate at the love level. Whilst we think about a future event and we identify with that, we give ourselves labels. I was an alcoholic. I was a narcissist. I was depressed. Those labels are really the egoic mind saying to ourselves, we're not worthy. We can't do this. So don't put yourself forward. Don't look for trying to achieve something spectacular, because you will fail. The egoic mind says that to protect itself. And how many things, and if we're all honest, you can put comments down below and I'll read the comments on catch up. If you want to comment now live, I can answer them now, but I will answer the questions live on catch up. How many times have we worried about something and taken action to prevent that from happening, and panicked and worried, and yet it actually didn't come to pass? It actually didn't happen. I've been there. We've all been there. As you know, my story, I was identified as a narcissist. I was identified as an alcoholic. I was identified as being depressed. And it was only when I realized that the only time that really exists is now, and I mentioned at the start of the show that people watching it on catch up, whether it be tomorrow or next Sunday, when you watch it, it will be now. So that never changes. The past has gone. The future doesn't exist. There really is only now. And so those thoughts we have, those thoughts that drive us on with fear and anxiety, are the egoic mind trying to protect itself. You know, as I said before, the brain is designed to make sure we don't die. It's designed to protect ourselves. So people that are looking to do something different, or to become enlightened, or to link into consciousness, the ego will say, well, let's not do that because you've tried everything else and failed. And don't do that because it's all fantasy. And don't do that because it's woo-woo and it's all about, you know, the kind of new age thinking. Well, what I'm trying to instill upon you and explain, this philosophy and this thought about being in the present has been around since before Christ. You know, I mentioned Marcus Aurelius. And in fact, in the Bible, it says, have no worry for the problems of tomorrow, because tomorrow will take care of the problems of itself. That's not exactly what it says, but that's the actual message. Don't worry about tomorrow, because whatever happens tomorrow, it will take care of itself. So again, going back, how many times have we thought, worried, what if I don't do this? What if the car doesn't pass its MOT or its smog? What am I going to do about this? How am I going to get to work? And then you take the car for its MOT or its smog, and it passes. So you spent all that time in the present, not being present, not being conscious, but worrying about an event that hasn't happened yet. So if you think about the room that we talked about, if you think about mindfulness and just sitting and relaxing, those thoughts are mind projected forms of energy, which is no different to the egoic mind. If the egoic mind is a thought process and it's taking control of you, then really you need to just make sure and understand that you don't need to identify with those thoughts. The image of the room is concocted by yourself. You know what it looks like. You thought about it. And the key word here that I'm talking about is thinking. You thought about the room. So you're thinking about a problem. You're thinking about a situation, and you are allowing yourself to be controlled by that. I was allowing myself to be controlled by that. But following on from my journey, I realized that the only time that really exists is the present moment. So if I'm living in the present moment, then I can't acknowledge that worry, because it's like the image of the room. It's like the picture of that office space or that bedroom that I've asked you just to think about. And whilst thinking about that, it's a thought, it's a vibrational energy, but it's not you. And I want you to think about that really, really carefully. It's not you as the human being, it's you that is creating that image. So if that isn't you, then why would you create an image of negativity? Why would you create an image of doubt? Why would you create an image of worry for your body to then vibrate at the depressed level or the anxiety frequency, when really positivity and love and health is really just about, I don't want to say positive thinking, because again, that sounds new age, but if you're putting out there love, you'll get love back. If you're putting out there fear and anxiety, you'll get that back. You'll get that back in spades. So again, it would be great to take calls. It would be great to see comments. Again, like my road trip, I'm time limited. And when I get talking to you guys, time really does go so fast. So I'd like to just thank you for spending time, because, you know, I keep talking about not mentioning the past, but I keep referring to the past. Things I've said before, and as I said, then I was in the now at the time, so it doesn't count. We are time limited. I was time limited on my road journey. I'm time limited with my show here tonight. I appreciate you being here. Everything's amazing. It just really just goes so fast. So take away from what I'm saying, whatever you think is a form of energy, if that energy is vibrating, you want it to be as positive as possible. If you're looking at the room, that's a thought that you're projecting. So anything you think about yourself, anything that's doubt or anxiety or fear, isn't you as a human being.